This year's Final Four teams are all set.
All right, here we go. The games are going to be played in San Antonio. But did you know that 50 years ago, the big tournament was actually played right here in America's finest city? Yeah, back in 1975. Let's review. The Final Four was between UCLA, Louisville, Syracuse, and Kentucky. It was held at Pechanga Arena, which back then it was known as the Sports Arena. And one moment that stood out for many die-hard collegiate basketball fans was that the tournament was legendary UCLA coach John Wooden's retirement announcement. So this was after the Bruins beat Louisville in the semifinals. Now UCLA would go on to win the national title, its 10th in 12 years. So it's certainly, without a doubt, one of the most exciting times of year for basketball, for sure.
Former college and NBA player Jim Brogan is back to preview the Final Four in March Madness. I made the mistake of almost changing the channel. My 13-year-old son, I didn't even know he was into this. He looks, he goes, "Mom, what are you doing? It's March Madness." I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Don't touch the dial, Mom. Are you kidding me? You never know what's going to happen. And that's what's really unique about this time of the year. It brings a lot of people together. People that don't even know basketball are filling out their little brackets going, and then you see them the next day, and my team lost. I was right there on the cusp of winning it all. And that's what's fun about this time.
Yeah, you know, but you mentioned the word unique. I think one of the biggest things that stands out right now is the fact that the Final Four, we've got number one playing for the second time ever. It's been, we see this dynamic, right?
Since 2008, this is the first time all #1 seeds are going to the Final Four. And it just shows you, if you look at the body of work that they did throughout the whole season, I mean, there were 165 and 25 or something along those lines. So it's a huge number. So these Final Four teams that are in there, they deserve to be there. They, throughout the whole season, showed that they are one of the best teams in the country.
The best of the best.
Yes, very much so. And it's electric to see it because no one thought, it never usually happens. I mean, since 2008, there's always a Cinderella. And nobody got the Cinderella, and everybody's brackets all messed up. Mine included. I hate to say that.
Really?
Yes, I just had a couple of Cinderellas. I thought Alabama, and they got beat by 20 points. They let me down. I'm calling the coach and go, "What are you doing? Let's go." But that's how it works.
So when you get all like the best together, then what happens?
Well, we're going to find out.
It's hard to predict, right?
It's very difficult to predict. It's a great point. And though that's why they play these games, because it's madness, #1. I mean, it puts people in these psychotic positions. But again, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, if you look at basketball, there's always a run. Teams have runs. It usually doesn't happen in a lot of sports where a team will go on a 14-4 run. And that's what makes it unique, because it gets you involved psychologically. It gets you involved emotionally, because you've got these players that it's one and done. This is it. You've got to give your best or you're done.
Well, how do these teams match up with one another? How do you see them, and which players have stood out to you?
Duke and Houston, to me, is going to be fascinating, because Houston really bases their wins on defense. They are a defensive-oriented team. Calvin Sampson, who is a wonderful coach, he gets his teams to come in and play defense, which usually in this era, it's all about offense. So you can get a big NIL deal or some other contract now as a college player. But I think that's the really interesting matchup, is Duke and Florida. And then you look at the Auburn, or Duke and Houston. I think Florida against Auburn, they've already played once. And Florida beat them. And they beat them because they had one of those really big runs at the end of the game. So that, to me, is a really interesting matchup, because they're both SEC teams, and it's going to really say, okay, wait, we've played against each other, but this is new. This is the Final Four. This is the big dance right now. And I think Houston, Auburn, they have a chance, but Duke has shown they probably have the player of the year in Cooper Flagg, and also Walton Clayton Jr. plays for Florida. He has shown in the moments he can make the big plays. But then again, Duke, they're going to go 8-9 deep. They can bring 3 guys off the bench that they don't lose much from the starting 5.
Is your bracket thing over? I'm learning about this as we go along. Is it done? Are you done?
Unfortunately, I read it in and it's done, Sean.
Like, you have like what? Like, let me find a pencil. So it has the eraser, and if you could like erase, and you could do it. And
I think
most people's brackets are done.
But if you could fix it now, let's say you could do it all over again, and you're gonna the Final Four, and who's gonna win? Who would you erase and then like write it in now?
I really thought Alabama was going to be the team to put in there. I really did. They were just playing so well. I thought Gonzaga, towards the end of the year, was playing really well. But again, a lot of these games came down to the last 2 or 3 possessions. And if you look at it, those last 2 or 3 possessions happen with teams that are senior or junior led. And it makes a difference. You're working with people that are, well, with the COVID era, some of these guys are 22, 23 years old. And it does make a difference. You have experience. You have more games under your belt. You know how to win. You have the insight to do what needs to be done.
Before we get to the women's side, Monday is the big championship game.
Yes.
So we're going to put you on the spot, Jim. Who do you think is going to be playing on Monday?
Yeah, you come in here and people are on me all day. Like, wow,
You're our expert, Jim.
Jeez,
We need
man.
you.
I think it's going to be Florida Duke.
Okay.
And it's going to come down to the last 2 or 3 possessions. And Cooper Flagg being the player of the year, and a lot of people don't like Duke. They're a team to beat. I think they have the best chance. I really do.
Okay. Women's side.
Women's will be determined tonight. So you got 2 teams tonight that will finally win the Final Four. I think South Carolina, UCLA was really a big surprise. UCLA was wonderful, and they stamped them way into the Final Four here. USC, I thought everyone was going to do it, but they lost their best player to a knee injury, which was just traumatic. It was awful for this young lady. I really think with Dawn Staley and South Carolina, they have the power to roll. They have the ability to, they also have a big, deep bench. They've got great shooters from the outside, 3-point shooters. So I think South Carolina does it again. They're tough. I mean, Dawn Staley, she knows how to recruit great women, great athletes, and they buy into her system, which that's a big part of any sport. The coach has to be able to pontificate what their system is, and the players have to be able to say, I'll follow.
You know, I find watching the female coaches it's so entertaining, and they just really draw you into the game, at least for women's basketball. And I'm still bent, I think most of us are still bent out of shape about the Aztecs and about UC San Diego. Gosh, can you imagine if they were still in right now?
Well, how much fun was it when
it was amazing.
San Diego State was in the final game, and they were right there, and it makes your whole city become electric.
Yes.
And UCSD, you had it was one shot right there.
Right there.
But that's why we play the game. That's why we play the game, because it brings us emotionally into it.
But you definitely have excitement on this Monday. I feel electrified, like I can do anything now.
Well, it's just a great time of year, and sports really is such a great mirror of life. You know, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have times you don't win. And so it teaches us, hey, how do I get through the struggles? Why? The success is in the struggle in life. And you're not going to go a week without some type of struggle. And if you are, you're not putting yourself out there. You're not asking for risk. And that's what these sports are about. That's what going to the classroom. Raise your hand in class. You don't understand.
Life lessons, right?
Very much so.
Life lessons.
Very much so. So these young women and young men, they get these life lessons, and they're tough.
Yeah.
What was that saying? Yeah, get down, fall down 7, get up 8. That's
right.
That's how you do it.
Come with me. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Thank you for being here.
Jim,
Always good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for
for having
dropping
me.
in.
You bet.
So great to have you in.
Chrissy?
All right, have a good Monday.